For anyone who wants a perfect articulation for the problems in data science and analytics, a good place to look is the demo on Hex.tech's website. In case you don't know, Hex is one of the most popular data science analytics platforms. It's a great platform for what it offers. But this really articulates the problems with the workflow, not the problems with the platform, but the problems with the workflow, the typical data science workflow. It starts with a prompt, how do we reduce churn? And then the analyst combines a bunch of data sets, some data frames, tables, writes some SQL transform, produces some interim plots, and the entire thing results in a dashboard. They call it an interactive app. It's a dashboard with some bar plots. It doesn't actually answer the question. This is very typical of analysis that happens in every single company, every single day, where a question, how do we reduce churn, results in an enormous amount of analytical work, data science work, and the output is a dashboard that updates perpetually. I'd like to contrast this with the inquiry framework that Hawkwin really emphasizes for all analytical activity, all data science activity. This is really just a series of questions that you have to go through before the project starts. Unlike in the demo, there's a question, then there's a bunch of activity, and then there's an output that doesn't answer the question. Here we want to spend way more time up front. So we have a bunch of examples actually of different frameworks you can use off the shelf. Let's take a look at the metric framework as an example to give you a sense for the type of pre-work that is required. It's the most important part. Let's say we're defining a new metric. So first, let's name the metric. Let's call it metric 1, 2, 3. This should take about 20 minutes to go through. I'll just go through a few minutes of it to give you a sense for the type of questions you need to be posing to make sure you're building, in this case, a useful metric, one that's trusted by your organization. So let's say we're going to be tracking user engagement. It can be more than one. We're trying to get a sense for, okay, what are we actually trying to measure? Who's the stakeholder? Let's call it marketing. And who's responsible for it? Let's again call it marketing, right? Do I understand the factors that cause the value of this new metric to change? Yes, I do. How would you force rank the following factors based on which has the most direct impact on the value of the metric? Okay, so now we have to think about what is actually the underlying, what's the causal factors there? Okay, it has nothing to do with cloud infrastructure, but it has maybe something to do with market economic conditions, maybe product pricing. You have to think through this, obviously, maybe internal operations. This is going to require, there is no right answer here. This requires thinking. This thinking is the key that we're looking for. How much do you expect the metric to move within one day, day to day? Let's say maybe 7%, right? And on a monthly basis, right? Again, so I'm not going to go through all these questions, but there's a cascade of questions here that help us refine our objective before we jump into any analysis, before we start building metrics with and putting them on dashboards. We need to articulate exactly what it is we're doing. Metrics are extremely important, but they're also very hard. They require a considerable amount of pre-work to define the objective, to make sure the metric is defined, it's properly monitored, all those things. Again, the objective here is to refine, to reduce the number of analytical data science projects we're doing, to focus the effort, just to make the effort more worthwhile. This is the inquiry framework. It's really an essential piece, very much at odds to the typical way these workflows go. Usually it's a question, a flurry of activity, an output that lives forever, updates forever. Now we have another artifact living in our system that we don't know if we should use it, when we should use it, why we should use it. It's unclear. Let's be more focused. Let's significantly reduce the number of activities related to data science and analytics. There is an even bigger reason to go through an inquiry framework for a metric or any project, and that is to produce metadata. There is no metadata today associated with analytical data science activities. There's usually a code trail somewhere in a data warehouse or notebooks. There might be presentations. There's no organized metadata. For metrics, as the example we just went through, you can think of it as producing a great metric catalog. But even more so, as we think about bringing data into AI to help improve the efficiency of the business with various AI tools and platforms. This analytical metadata is essential. It's a very rich data source. If we can go through this analytical framework, we reduce the number of projects we're doing. We also build a very powerful data set for AI. It's AI enablement.